We're going to look at the fountain for residents up near Truckee, California. We're in the early stages of testing, and I think the purpose for this short video is to emphasize the complexity, or I guess it's not complex in the terms of rocket launching to Mars, but water is the strangest thing to deal with. It just doesn't ever do exactly what you think it's going to do. So I wanted to show viewers and the owner the kind of thing that we do to try to find out if we're doing anything right. This spillway represents what we will... This is not the exact spillway. It actually ended up being a little bit too wide after we did some new measuring. But it is essentially like the spillway that we will be installing. However, by then it'll have a radically different color. Notice that we've tried to balance the spill box, and this is exactly the spill box that we intend to use. And you cannot see all of it. You can see here where the tubing feeds up into it, and the little spillway weir is right in the middle of the box here. And then down in here you see a control valve, which will be in the final product, hidden, so that we can do control adjustments on site, and an anti-backflow valve down there so that we can have a full tube and tank all of the time and not have to wait for it to fill up every time you turn the fountain on. And there's the pump lying down in there with the filter built into it. So I'm going to plug it in now, and you'll see here in just a moment that we get a full wash of water across, except not quite. You see we've got a spot here that went away from our last test. And this is where we start trying to figure out what adjustments are necessary. Right now I'm just moving the entire box inward a little bit to try to get some squish on this side. And we're getting close. We're getting very, very close now. But that's how delicate the adjustments might be, even on site. And here we even have, you see this how the water tends to pull in towards a kind of an hourglass shape, and we're trying to avoid that. The actual finished fountain will be a little bit wider than the revealed area, so that you will see just a solid wall of water washing down. But you can see we're off to a good start. This mock-up is just about as ugly as anything can be, but we really don't care right now. This is just to get the fundamentals working, and once that's working, then we'll continue with the rest of the body of the fountain and build all of this into it. But if we start building the fountain and put this together inside of it, and we have a problem, it's just enormously difficult to cure the problem. This way we'll have the water spill working correctly before we begin to build the rest of the fountain. So that's your short lesson for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, we're continuing on with the fountain, and seemed like this might be an interesting time to break and make a little bit of footage of the internals and some of the complexities that we're faced with in creating this long, narrow wall fountain. It'll be 6 foot long. The water spill itself will be just a little bit over 5 foot. And the top, this is the top, and you're looking at the back side. This part will be against the wall. The outer framing that you see here is really the inner framing. Over the top of this will be the next and final layer of highly textured copper material that will be sort of the, that's the fun. That's when we really get to start playing with texture and color. But right now, I'm trying to position this piece, which you can see moving a little bit, I hope. This is the spillway, the back of it. And I'm installing it now so that it will be both adjustable and removable. Probably never have to be removed, but in the odd circumstance that something needs to be tuned up, maintained, fixed, or repaired, or color changed, etc., I want this to be completely changeable and fixable. There'll actually have to be a book. There'll have to be a how to install and operate and repair your fountain manual to go with this. Let's see if we can look up in here. The spillway. Here's the inner frame, and this gap right here is where the lighting will be. The LED lighting will be positioned right about where my finger is, facing the spillway and giving us a nice amount of light, so that in darker times in the room it'll just be really exciting to look at. These ribs are just to stiffen it a little bit. It was a chance that I took that there might, at some stage, there might be some hum or vibration that would be set up in the large flat sheet of metal. It could make a sound that we don't want. I don't know, but I think I've eliminated that possibility by putting these stiffening ribs in there. The tank that will carry the water, hold the water supply, is this little fella right here, and it's got a couple of interesting things going on. This is a drain valve, so that if you leave it on a, if you chill the house down to ambient temperature outdoors, which I doubt if it will happen, but you certainly have that possibility in the high Sierras where this will be. You can drain all of the water out of it and not have any freezing problems. There'll be a filler here, which we have not talked about yet. This is an automatic filler, automatic float valve, which you can see right here. You don't have that into the wall just yet, and that is something we should talk about. It's by far not mandatory. It just is a pleasant thing to have it fill itself without you having to think about it. I'm going to figure out a way to put a little artsy float that will rise and fall and give you an idea just by glancing at the fountain as to what your water level is, and we certainly don't want to let it drop too low. So that's just a quick update. There's really not a lot to see. I wish I could point out more. I mean, we're making little tiny things like these sort of brackets that will go under here, and this will rather under here, and this is what will attach to the spillway. And with a nut or a bolt in between here, we'll be able to adjust it up and down. This is the upper holding tank that you'll be able to access for clean out somewhere along the life of the fountain. So maybe that's a little too much for today, but just an update to show you amazing complexity of what will ultimately be a very simple fountain. The look will be very, very simple in one respect, and the innards are anything but. So enough for now. We'll come back to it a little later. Another day and a half have passed working on the fountain. Thought I would do a little update again to show some of the internals that'll rarely if ever be seen again. Anti-backflow valve from the top tank to the bottom tank, so that when it's turned off, you won't wait, the water won't all run back down out of the top tank, and then when it's turned on, it will begin to activate immediately without having to wait for the upper tank to fill up. This other small line here is an optional automatic filler, so that should the choice be made to put water into the wall where it will hang, then it could be attached here. And there's an automatic, well, we don't have enough light here, do we? There's an automatic float valve inside of the bottom tank that I can put my hand on it, but I'm sorry you can't quite see it right now. It's just obscured by the darkness and the wiring and the plumbing. Here's the pump, and this other line running down this side is a return line that will be used only in case of freezing, if you're going to let the house go cold, or for removing the fountain to do any maintenance or repair to it or the wall behind it. And the purpose there is so that the top tank will be, you'll be able to drain all the water out of it. Instead of having it sloshing around and spilling out, you'll be able to drain it down to almost completely to zero and avoid that problem. Then also the bottom tank has an outlet down here. There'll be a hole drilled in the side to access the little valve, so that, again, for purposes of maintenance, freezing, or any other issues, painting, etc., etc., we'll be able to drain down into a bucket that'll sit on the floor below. I've begun to put the lighting bracket on. Let's see if there's a loose one here. Here's the bracket that the lighting will sit on, and already mounted on all of one side. This is the LED strip that will emit an amazing amount of light all the way around just inside the spill. The spillway is over here. Of course, we're still not even begun to color it at all. But that lighting will be shining, let's see, in this direction out towards the colorful spillway so that the water and the color will get a good blast of light. So it's still in the sausage stage where almost everything is ugly. It's amazingly difficult to build what ultimately will appear to be a very simple piece. You look at the art, the color, and the water. But what it takes to get all that to come together in a specific shape and size is almost amazingly difficult to bring together. Things like the weir, the shape of this lip, the opening width here, the amount of water that it takes to flow all the way across just right. All of those are taken into account. And by the way, the top, actually all of the weir, the spill, has adjustments. So that I can move the spillway in and out in relation to the spill, the weir, I keep getting them mixed up, so that we can balance that water flow if need be. So even on the other mounting points, they all have slider holes so that we can twist and turn and adjust to our heart's delight. So it looks like in about another day, we'll probably be ready to button up all the wiring and plumbing. Then we'll tip it up full upright, put the spill in it, the spillway backsplash, and do a test run, making sure there are 0 leaks, no splash, the water runs free and clear, and then we begin the fun part. That's when we'll start doing the coloring and doing the additional top layer of texture and color over the perimeter. So we'll see if we can put this all together and put together a little footage to show you what's been going on with this particular fountain.